Hello zusammen, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you guys are all having an awesome day so far. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. My name is Diana and I am a Canadian expat living and working in Berlin, Germany. And on my channel, I talk all things about the German culture, what it's like to move here as an expat or a foreigner, and of course, how to find a job in Germany, which is probably why you clicked on this video. Today, I am really excited to share with you some interview tips when interviewing with a German company. If you're struggling right now to find a job in Germany, and you're a foreigner and an expat and you're going through the ups and downs of doing interviews, I feel you. It is definitely a draining process, but I want to share with you some top tips in order to help you land the job as quickly as possible. The first tip that I have for you when you are going to interview with a German company is to be very clear on your USP, which is your unique selling proposition. This is going to be extremely important, and it's going to be the foundation for you of feeling confident and knowing that you can get that job. Your unique selling proposition is extremely important because it's going to allow you to be very clear to your potential employer as to why they need to hire you. As the name says, what is unique about you and how are you going to add value to the company? A lot of people go into interviews thinking that they're just going to land the job based on their education or their past experiences, but they're not able to clearly convey to their potential new employer why they are the right person for that position and why they should get hired over somebody else who has the exact same education or exact same qualifications as them, or even better qualifications than them. When you go to an interview, this is the chance for you to pitch yourself, and you always want to bring a unique angle as to why you are the exact fit that they are looking for. I know that a lot of foreigners and expats often feel intimidated because they feel like, why would a German company hire me over a German citizen or an EU citizen? But don't sell yourself short. If you have gotten that far into landing the interview, then you are in the same running as everybody else. And as a matter of fact, because of the Skilled Workers Immigration Act that went into effect last year, and I'll go ahead and leave a link right over here so that you can check that video out that I did on this. It is now much easier for employers to hire people out of the EU and people that are not German citizens. The second tip that I have for you is the language. This is another common concern or a common question that I get, more specifically during the coaching calls that I do with many of you. And it is whether or not you need the German language in order to land a job here. Now, based on my experience and based on a lot of experiences from other expats, it is quite easy to get an English-speaking job in cities like Berlin or even other major cities along Germany because there's so many companies here that operate in English. But that does not mean that you should not make an effort when it comes to learning German. I always advise that when you go into an interview, know at least a little bit of German or show that you're making an effort to learn the language. An employer is really going to appreciate this. It's going to show a sign of respect for the culture. And speaking about learning German, I wanted to give a huge shout out to today's partner, which is italki. They are a language learning marketplace, and their focus is to help you learn a language as quickly as possible so that you can increase your chances of standing out during an interview, landing the job, and even increasing your salary. Because when you know multiple languages, it actually increases your chances of having a higher salary as well. So there's so many benefits of course, speaking an additional language And if you want to feel more prepared going into your interviews with a German company, I highly recommend checking them out. italki offers over 130 languages, and their lessons start as little as €1. And they have amazing native teachers that you can get paired up with, and you can actually have real conversations that will help you get more fluent in a business setting as well. So I definitely wanted to give them a shout out and let you guys know, if you are in the process of prepping for interviews and you want to feel more confident with your German or even any other language, make sure to check them out. They have been kind enough to offer you guys a discount, so you can get $5 off $10 with the code Diana, and I'll go ahead and leave it down below as I always do, so you can take advantage of the discount. And they have a bunch of teachers on there, and the teachers can set up their own prices, so I'm pretty sure you can find somebody that fits your budget. But again, discounts will be down below and the links will be down below. But yeah, I hope that you guys take advantage of it. And thank you so much again to italki for working with me on this video. And let's go ahead and jump into step number 3. So the third point I wanted to talk about is to know your audience. And I think that this is actually a pitfall for a lot of people that are interviewing with German companies, because they're not familiar with the German culture and they're not really familiar with the German work environment. Now, an example that I have here is, for instance, in Canada and the US, when we are taught to go into interviews, we are taught to be super confident, super boastful about our accomplishments, and overall a bit arrogant in a way, because we are taught that we have to sell ourselves as much as possible. Otherwise, we're not going to get the job. Whereas in Germany, it's much more of a laid back approach. Germans don't really like when people are very boastful and just talk about their accomplishments and everything that they've done. And they don't like that overselling approach that is very popular in a lot of cultures. So I think a lot of people really struggle with this when interviewing with German companies, because they have to switch their way of doing interviews, because they're just not familiar with how Germans like to do it. And of course, if a German sees somebody who's super arrogant, or somebody who just talks about themselves way too much and everything that they've done and all of the great things, the chances of you getting hired are not going to be very high, because the employer is going to think, first of all, that you are just way too full of yourself, and second of all, you are probably just not going to fit in with the culture of that company. So my tip here is for you to tone it down a bit. So I'm not saying that you obviously shouldn't talk about your accomplishments and what you've done, and your education and your work experience, or even any of the extracurriculars or hobbies that you may have, if they pertain to that job that you are interviewing for. But you just want to tone it down a bit and make sure that you're not taking up too much room and just overselling yourself. I personally have had the chance to interview people as well, and I have seen firsthand how some people just get too into themselves. Maybe it's nerves and they feel like they have to share everything about themselves and just talk about themselves so much that they don't leave room for questions or for a conversation. And as somebody who is doing the hiring, you want to make sure that you're able to talk to the person, that you're going to be able to have a long-lasting relationship. And if you feel like the person is just too full of themselves, or they're just too busy talking about themselves that you don't even have a chance to get a word in, or they're being dismissive about your questions or not really answering it fully, then that is a red flag. So definitely just tone it down a bit and make sure that you are a bit more chill in your approach with the convo, while also keeping it professional and of course talking about your accomplishments, but in a much more modest way. So it is a fine line, but I wanted to point this out because again, I've seen a lot of people struggle with this one. And then the fourth step or tip that I have for you is to go ahead and have some good questions prepared for your interview. A lot of people overlook this, and a lot of people don't take advantage of this part of the interview in order to stand out. Now, whatever question you ask is of course going to be very specific to the field that you're in, to the job description, to the company, but it is so important that you have questions that are going to be engaging and memorable enough for the person that is doing the hiring at whatever step you are in the interview process. So during the phone call, you want to make sure you have some good initial questions. During the phone call or in-person interview with the person in HR, you want to have some good questions for them, and so forth. You know, when you get to the technical part or meeting the heads of certain departments, make sure that you have good questions for them. Somebody, for instance, in HR is going to be much more excited and much more interested to answer questions related to the culture of the company and the environment and employee benefits, whereas somebody who's in a managerial position or is doing the technical interview is going to be much more interested in speaking about the specifics of the job and answering questions about the job or about the team. And then, of course, let's say you talk to the CEO or the CFO, they're going to be much more interested to get questions about the growth of the company and, you know, future plans for the company. So definitely don't overlook the power of having good questions prepared. It can give you an extra edge. It can make you stand out, be more memorable, and also more personable as well if you are able to ask questions that are spot on to whoever is interviewing you. So those are the tips that I wanted to share with you today on how to land a job with a German company, especially if you are struggling right now or if you've gone through the ups and downs of interviewing and you don't really know why you're not landing the positions. I really do hope that you put these tips into play. And if you are interested in jumping on a one-on-one call with me to talk about your specific situation and we can figure out how you can pitch yourself better, I will go ahead and leave a link down below where you can go ahead and schedule your session with me. And of course, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up because it helps with the whole YouTube algorithm so that if others are interested in moving to Germany to work, they'll be able to see this video as well. But I hope that you guys have an awesome day and I will talk to you all in my next one. Tschüss!